The message came at midnight. Dr. Emily Thompson sat in her quiet NASA office, staring at her computer screen. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she didn't care. After 15 years of searching the stars for signs of alien life, they had finally found something. The signal was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It pulsed with a clear pattern that couldn't have come from any natural source. Emily's hands shook as she typed, running the signal through her translation software. "This has to be it," she whispered to herself, pushing her brown hair away from her face. The office around her was dark except for the glow of her monitors. Outside her window, the Houston night was clear and full of stars. The computer beeped. The first lines of translation appeared on her screen. Her excitement turned to fear as she read the message. "Oh God," she said, reaching for her phone. Her fingers trembled as she dialed the emergency number she had memorized, but never thought she'd use. "This is Dr. Thompson. Get me Colonel Walker. Now." 20 minutes later, Colonel James Walker strode into the room. His uniform was wrinkled, suggesting he'd been sleeping when he got the call. But his blue eyes were sharp and alert. "This better be good, Doctor," he said, crossing his arms. Emily turned her screen toward him. "It's not good, Colonel. Not good at all." She pointed to the translated message. "They're coming. And they're not coming in peace." Walker leaned forward, reading quickly. His face grew darker with each line. The message was clear. Earth had been chosen as the next harvest world by something called the Dominion. They were coming to collect humans for their genetic material. Resistance would be met with force. "How long do we have?" Walker asked, his voice tight. Emily checked the signal data. Based on the transmission source, maybe 3 days. Could be less. Walker pulled out his phone and pressed a button. "This is Colonel Walker. Wake the President." "Yes, right now. We have a code black situation." The next 3 days were chaos. World leaders argued about how to respond. Military forces were mobilized. People panicked as governments struggled to keep the message secret. Emily worked without sleep, trying to learn more from the alien signal. She found hidden data about the Dominion, a group of advanced species that saw less developed worlds as resources to be used. Earth wasn't their first target, and it wouldn't be their last. On the 3rd day, Colonel Walker stood in the Pentagon's war room, surrounded by screens showing military readiness reports. A young lieutenant burst through the door. "Sir, multiple objects just appeared in orbit. They're massive, bigger than anything we've ever built." Walker walked to the window. Even in broad daylight, he could see them, dark shapes blocking out parts of the sky. The Dominion ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, smooth and black, like killer whales swimming through space. "Sound the alarm," Walker ordered. "Get all civilians to the shelters. And someone get me Dr. Thompson. If we're going to fight these bastards, we need to understand them." In her office, Emily was already recording a new signal. This one wasn't a message, it was a command. The alien ships were talking to each other, preparing for something big. She translated it just as her office window lit up with a blinding flash. The first attack had begun. The sky turned red as alien weapons fired down at Earth's major cities. Humanity's first contact with alien life had turned into a fight for survival. But the Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans would be easy prey. They thought Earth would fall quickly like all the other worlds they had harvested. They didn't understand that humans were different. They didn't know they had just started a war with the species that would become the galaxy's most feared predator. Emily looked out her window at the burning sky and knew that everything was about to change. The universe would never be the same after what was about to happen. Neither would humanity. New York was burning. Lieutenant Michael Reynolds watched from the top of a half-destroyed skyscraper as alien ships moved through the smoke-filled sky. They looked like giant black arrows cutting through the clouds, their weapons turning the proud city into ruins. "Lieutenant, we found more survivors," shouted Private Adams, running up behind him. The young soldier's face was covered in dust and sweat. Michael nodded, turning away from the terrible view. Get them to the subway tunnels. How many? 23. Mostly families with kids. Down in the street, people ran in terror as another blast shook the ground. Michael's team had been working for 36 hours straight, saving as many civilians as they could. The aliens seemed more interested in capturing people than killing them, which matched what Dr. Thompson had warned them about. Across the country, Rebecca Martinez was organizing a different kind of resistance. The former Marine had started gathering survivors in the mountains outside Denver, creating a hidden base where people could fight back. "They're not just killing us," she told her growing group of fighters. "They're taking people, and we're going to stop them." Her dark eyes burned with determination as she cleaned her rifle. Around her, others nodded, their faces hard with anger and purpose. In Washington, D.C., Dr. Emily Thompson worked frantically in a bunker beneath the Pentagon. Colonel Walker stood behind her, watching as she decoded more alien transmissions. "This is worse than we thought," she said, her voice shaking. "They're not just harvesting us for genetic material. They're experimenting on people, trying to understand why we're different from their other victims." Walker's fists clenched. "Different how?" "Our DNA. Something about it surprises them. They keep talking about unexpected responses to their tests." Before Walker could respond, the bunker's lights flickered. A soldier burst into the room. "Sir, they'd broken through our last defense line. They're inside the city." Walker grabbed his rifle. "Get Dr. Thompson to the escape tunnel. Now." Above ground, the scene was chaos. The alien ships had landed, and strange creatures were walking the streets. They were tall and moved with terrible grace, their armor making them look like walking shadows. They carried weapons that shot beams of blue light, freezing anyone they hit. In New York, Michael Reynolds led another group of survivors through the subway tunnels. The underground network had become humanity's best chance for escape. His team had mapped out routes that avoided the alien patrols. "Stay quiet," he whispered to the group. "They have good hearing." A small girl clutched her mother's hand, trying not to cry. Michael smiled at her, even though his heart was breaking. So many children had lost their families in the first attacks. In her mountain base, Rebecca Martinez received reports from other resistance groups. Chicago had fallen. Los Angeles was under siege. London was dark, but people were fighting back. "They think we're weak," she told her fighters. "They think we'll give up, but they don't know humans very well, do they?" Her people cheered quietly. They had already learned to be silent, to move like ghosts, to strike and disappear. The aliens were strong, but humans were clever. Back in the Pentagon bunker, Emily made a discovery that changed everything. "Colonel," she called through her radio. "The aliens, they're scared." "Scared?" Walker's voice crackled back. "Of what?" "Of us. Their latest messages. They're reporting that some of their test subjects are showing strange reactions. The humans they're experimenting on. We're not dying like we're supposed to. We're changing." The bunker shook as another explosion hit above. But Emily kept reading, her eyes growing wider. "Colonel, you need to see this. The Dominion made a terrible mistake. They thought we were prey, but—" She paused, looking at the translated alien words with amazement. "They just turned us into something else, something they've never seen before." The war had only begun, and humanity was about to show the universe what happened when you backed humans into a corner. They were about to show the Dominion why Earth's creatures had evolved to fear what walked on two legs. Dr. David Anderson hadn't seen sunlight in 3 weeks. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a secret lab built long before the invasion, he stared at his microscope with bloodshot eyes. Around him, other scientists worked in silence, studying blood samples from survivors of alien experiments. "This can't be right," he muttered, adjusting the microscope again. "Mark, come look at this." His assistant hurried over, looking tired but alert. They had all been working nonstop since Rebecca Martinez's resistance fighters had rescued them from their old lab in Boston. The cells, David said, pointing to the screen. They're not just surviving the alien tech exposure. They're adapting to it. Above them, in the main part of the mountain base, Colonel Walker met with Rebecca Martinez. His uniform was torn and dirty. He had barely escaped TEC alive, bringing Dr. Thompson and crucial alien data with him. "We're losing the surface," Rebecca reported, spreading out a map. "But we're making them pay for every inch. And there's something else." She paused, looking troubled. "Some of our fighters, they're changing." Walker nodded grimly. "I've seen it. Thompson's translations warned us this might happen. Where's Anderson? He needs to hear this." In his lab, David was explaining his discovery to Emily Thompson. His hand shook with excitement despite his exhaustion. "Look at the DNA structure," he said, pointing to the screen. "Normal human DNA doesn't do this. But after exposure to alien technology, especially their weapons," he pulled up another image. "It's like our DNA was waiting for this. Like it needed a key to unlock something." Emily leaned closer, her scientific curiosity overtaking her fear. The Dominion's messages mentioned unexpected responses. This must be what they meant. "Dr. Anderson." A young soldier burst into the lab. "Lieutenant Reynolds is here. His team. You need to see this." They rushed to the medical wing. Michael Reynolds and his squad had just returned from a raid on an alien facility. They looked too different. Their eyes had a strange glow, and their movements were too quick, too smooth. "It started after we broke into their weapons vault," Michael explained, his voice deeper than before. "We got hit with some kind of energy blast, but instead of killing us," he picked up a metal tray and crushed it with one hand. David took blood samples from Michael's team, while Emily studied the alien data they had stolen. The pieces were starting to fit together. "It's not random," David announced to the room of leaders. "Human DNA contains markers, ancient ones. When exposed to advanced technology, especially the Dominion's bioweapons, these markers activate. We start to evolve, but not slowly over generations. It happens in days." "Evolution?" Rebecca asked, watching Michael's team demonstrate their new strength in the training room. "Into what?" "Into what we were always meant to become," Emily said quietly. "The Dominion didn't know it, but they just accelerated our species' development by thousands of years." Colonel Walker stood at the observation window, watching as Michael easily lifted weights that would have been impossible before. "Can you control it? Direct these changes?" David nodded slowly. "I think so. With more research, more understanding of their tech, we could help our people adapt faster, better." "Do it," Walker ordered, "because we're not just fighting for survival anymore." He turned to face them, his eyes hard. "We're fighting to become something new, something stronger." In their ships above Earth, the Dominion leaders were beginning to realize their mistake. Their latest reports showed human test subjects breaking free, becoming stronger, faster, harder to control. Some were even developing abilities the Dominion had never seen before. They had meant to harvest a weak species. Instead, they had awakened humanity's hidden potential. And now they would learn why Earth's stories had always warned. Be careful what you wake up. Lieutenant Michael Reynolds crouched in the shadows of the alien ship's corridor, his enhanced eyes easily cutting through the darkness. 5 members of his special ops team waited behind him, their bodies humming with their new abilities. "Remember," he whispered, "we only get one shot at this. The bridge is 3 levels up." This was humanity's boldest move yet, capturing an alien battleship. After weeks of studying their enhanced abilities and alien technology, Colonel Walker had approved this mission. They needed a win. They needed hope. Inside the mountain base, Dr. Emily Thompson worked with Dr. David Anderson, monitoring the team's vital signs through their new bio-linked communication system. "Their adaptation levels are holding steady," David reported, watching the screens. "The latest treatments worked better than we hoped." Emily nodded, but her attention was on the alien language scrolling across her screen. The ship's crew doesn't suspect anything yet. They still think their security system is working. On the ship, Michael's team moved like ghosts. Their enhanced strength and speed made them nearly invisible to the alien sensors. Weeks of training had taught them how to use their new abilities perfectly. "Guards," whispered Jenny Parker, one of Michael's team. Her enhanced hearing picked up the heavy footsteps long before they reached the corner. Michael smiled in the dark. 2 months ago, these aliens had terrified them. Now they were prey. The fight was over in seconds. The aliens never even saw what hit them. Michael's team moved too fast, struck too hard. Their enhanced bodies were far stronger than the Dominion's combat armor. "Bridge is ahead," Michael reported quietly. "Time to show them what humans can really do." Back at the base, Rebecca Martinez was preparing her resistance fighters for Phase 2. As soon as Michael's team took control of the ship, her people would strike at alien bases across the country. "The Dominion thought they could break us," she told her troops. "Instead, they'd made us stronger. Today, we show them how strong." Colonel Walker stood in the command center, watching everything unfold on multiple screens. "Status report," he ordered. "Michael's team is approaching the bridge," Emily reported. "No alarms yet, and I've got their command codes ready." On the ship, Michael took a deep breath. "Ready?" he asked his team. They nodded, their eyes glowing slightly in the dark corridor. Now, they burst onto the bridge like avenging angels. The alien crew didn't stand a chance. Michael moved faster than human eyes could follow, disarming 3 aliens before they could reach their weapons. Jenny leaped clear across the bridge, her enhanced muscles carrying her impossible distances. In 30 seconds, it was over. The bridge was theirs. "Send the codes," Michael ordered, standing at the captain's station. Emily's voice came through his comm, speaking the alien language perfectly. The ship's computer accepted her commands. "We have control," she announced, her voice tight with excitement. "The ship is ours." Across Earth, Rebecca's resistance fighters launched their attacks. With the battleship's weapons now targeting other alien ships, the Dominion forces were caught completely by surprise. "Multiple alien ships going down," reported a technician in the mountain base. "They're in chaos." Colonel Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Send the message." Emily's voice went out on all frequencies, in both human and alien languages. "To all Dominion forces, humanity is no longer your prey. We are no longer your test subjects. We are your worst nightmare." In orbit, Michael stood on his captured bridge, watching other alien ships burn. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy through fear for thousands of years, but they had never met anything like humans before. They had never faced prey that could become predators. And humanity was just getting started. Dr. David Anderson stood in the new testing chamber, watching in amazement as soldiers demonstrated abilities that should have been impossible. Private Lisa Cooper held up her hand, and electricity danced between her fingers. Across the room, Sergeant Tom Wilson's skin had become harder than steel. Another soldier was moving so fast, he left afterimages in the air. "It's accelerating," David told Colonel Walker, who watched from behind protective glass. "Each exposure to alien tech triggers new changes, and they're learning to control it faster." The mountain base had grown into humanity's main research center. After capturing the alien battleship, they had access to more Dominion technology than ever before. Dr. Emily Thompson worked nearby, surrounded by alien data screens. "The Dominion is panicking," she said, reading their communications. "They'd never seen anything like this. Their council is meeting right now to discuss the human problem." "Good," Walker said grimly. "Let them panic." In the captured battleship, now renamed Humanity's Dawn, Lieutenant Michael Reynolds trained more enhanced soldiers. His own abilities had grown stronger. He could now sense the thoughts of his team members, linking them together in battle. "The aliens made one big mistake," he told his new recruits. "They thought evolution was slow. They thought we would take thousands of years to change. They didn't know that humans adapt fast when we need to. Rebecca Martinez's resistance groups had become Earth's new army. They moved between hidden bases, striking alien facilities and freeing captured humans. Each freed prisoner was brought to the mountain base for treatment. The changes are different for each person, David explained to a group of scientists. Some get stronger, some get faster, some develop completely new abilities. But they all have one thing in common: they're becoming more than human. In their labs, David and his team had made another breakthrough. They found a way to control the evolution process, to guide it in useful directions. Now they could help soldiers develop the abilities they needed most. Emily burst into the lab, her face excited. "You need to see this," she said, holding up a tablet. "The Dominion just discovered something about us, something that terrifies them." On the screen, alien text scrolled past. David read the translation, and his eyes widened. "They found our old stories," Emily explained. "Myths, legends, superhero tales. They're realizing that humans have been imagining these powers for thousands of years, like our DNA was remembering what we could become. And now we're becoming those stories," David whispered. In the training room, Lisa Cooper created a ball of pure energy and threw it at a target, destroying it completely. Tom Wilson lifted a tank with one hand. Another soldier teleported across the room in a flash of light. Colonel Walker watched it all, his face serious. "How many can we enhance?" "Everyone," David answered. "Every human has this potential. The Dominion's weapons and technology just wake it up. And now that we understand the process," he smiled, "we can do it better than they ever imagined." On screens around the base, reports came in from around the world. More humans were developing abilities. More alien ships were falling. The Dominion was losing its grip on Earth. In orbit, Michael stood on his ship's bridge, watching Earth below. His enhanced vision could see the battles raging across the surface. Everywhere, humans were fighting back. Everywhere, they were winning. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "It's time for the next phase. We're taking the fight to them." The Dominion had ruled through fear, thinking themselves the galaxy's greatest power. But they had just created something far more dangerous than themselves. They had created a humanity unleashed. The fleet of Earth ships hung in space like dark stars. Each vessel was a mix of human engineering and alien technology, made deadlier by the enhanced humans who controlled them. Colonel Walker stood on the bridge of the flagship Kara's Vengeance, looking at the holographic map of Dominion space. After 6 months of fighting on Earth, humanity was ready to take the war to the enemy. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Michael Reynolds said from his position at tactical control. His enhanced mind could connect with all the ship's systems, making him one with the vessel. "Dr. Thompson, are their defense codes still valid?" Walker asked. Emily nodded, her fingers dancing over alien controls. "The Dominion hasn't figured out how much of their data we stole. Their arrogance is our advantage." The first target was a Dominion fortress world called Nexus 7. It served as their main military base in this sector of space. Taking it would open a path straight to their core worlds. "Launch the attack," Walker ordered. The human fleet jumped into action. Enhanced pilots flew their ships with impossible skill, their evolved brains processing information faster than any computer. The Dominion's defenses never saw them coming. Back on Earth, Rebecca Martinez coordinated with resistance groups on other worlds. The Dominion had conquered many species, and now those species were ready to fight back. "Humanity isn't their only victim," she told her officers, "just the first one to bite back." In orbit around Nexus 7, the battle began. Michael led the first wave of enhanced strike teams. They could now survive in space without suits, their bodies adapted to the void. They moved between enemy ships like deadly shadows. "Their shields are down," Michael reported, his voice calm as his team tore through the alien defenses, beginning main assault. On the flagship, Emily monitored alien communications. "They're in chaos," she reported. "They keep asking how we got past their defenses. They don't understand what they're fighting." Dr. David Anderson worked in his new lab aboard the flagship, studying the latest evolution data. "Each battle makes our people stronger," he told Walker. "It's like their bodies learn from every fight, every challenge." The Dominion had never faced an enemy like this. Their weapons, designed to kill normal humans, had little effect on the enhanced soldiers, and every failed attack taught humanity something new. "Multiple enemy ships disabled," Michael reported. "Their crews are surrendering." Walker nodded grimly. "Secure the prisoners. Download their databases. Everything we learn makes us stronger." The battle for Nexus 7 lasted less than a day. When it was over, humanity had its first foothold in Dominion space, but more importantly, they had hope. Emily worked with the captured aliens, learning their secrets. Some of them seemed almost relieved that the Dominion's power was being challenged. "They've ruled through fear for too long," she told Walker. "Now they're learning what real fear feels like." In the ship's training rooms, Michael worked with new enhanced soldiers. Each generation of evolution brought new abilities, new strengths. Some could now manipulate energy directly. Others could bend space itself. "We're not just fighting a war," he told his troops. "We're becoming something new, something the galaxy has never seen before." The Dominion's council met in emergency session, watching recordings of the battle. They saw humans walking through solid walls, tearing apart battleships with their bare hands, shrugging off weapons that could destroy planets. "What have we created?" one council member whispered. The answer was simple. They had created their own worst nightmare. They had forced humanity to evolve, to adapt, to become the perfect weapons against them. And now those weapons were coming for them. Fear spread through the Dominion's empire like a virus. On every world, in every space station, aliens whispered about the humans. They told stories of soldiers who couldn't die, of warriors who could tear apart starships with their minds. Rebecca Martinez led the liberation of Earth's last occupied territories. Her enhanced troops moved like living storms, unstoppable and fierce. The few remaining Dominion forces surrendered as soon as they saw her coming. "The tables have turned," she told a group of freed prisoners. "Now they're the ones hiding in the shadows. Now they're the ones running from us." In deep space, Lieutenant Michael Reynolds hunted Dominion warships. His vessel, Night Hunter, had become legendary. The aliens called it the Ghost Ship because it could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish again. "Another fleet destroyed," he reported to Colonel Walker. "They barely put up a fight anymore. They're learning to fear us." Walker stood on the bridge of Terra's Vengeance, watching a holographic map of the galaxy. Nearly a third of the Dominion's empire had fallen to human forces. Their once mighty fleets were scattered and broken. Dr. Emily Thompson worked with allies from other conquered races. The Dominion's empire was falling apart as more species joined humanity's cause. "They were never as strong as they pretended to be," she told Walker. "They ruled through fear and technology. Now we have better technology, and they're the ones who are afraid." In his orbital laboratory, Dr. David Anderson made another breakthrough. The latest generation of enhanced humans showed abilities that seemed impossible. "They're not just adapting anymore," he explained to the command staff. "They're evolving beyond what we thought possible. Some can manipulate the fabric of space-time itself." The Dominion's council met in their hidden fortress, watching reports of their empire crumbling. Their mighty race, which had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, was being hunted by the very species they had tried to harvest. "Send everything we have," one council member demanded. "Destroy them before they grow stronger." But it was too late. Every battle made humanity stronger. Every defeat taught them something new. The Dominion's weapons and technology, once so terrifying, now seemed primitive compared to what humans could do. Michael's team demonstrated this during an attack on a Dominion stronghold. They phased through solid walls, moved faster than light, and turned enemy weapons against their users. The battle was over in minutes. "The hunt is almost over," he told his troops. They have nowhere left to hide. Rebecca's forces found more alien research facilities, freeing the test subjects and learning the Dominion's secrets. Each discovery made them stronger, smarter, more powerful. They thought they could experiment on us, she said, watching her soldiers train. They didn't realize they were creating their own destruction. Walker received reports from across the galaxy. Human ships were pushing deeper into Dominion space every day. Their allies were growing stronger, more numerous. Victory was no longer a question of if, but when. We're not just winning the war, Emily told him. Reading the latest alien transmissions, we're changing the galaxy. No species will ever dare to prey on others again. In the depths of space, Michael's ship tracked the last Dominion Council members as they fled toward their homeworld. His enhanced senses could feel their fear from light years away. They're running home, he reported to Walker. Right where we want them. The hunt was nearly over. Soon, humanity would face the Dominion's leaders in their own stronghold. And then the galaxy would learn what it meant to awaken humanity's true potential. The predators had become the prey, and there was nowhere left for them to hide. The Dominion's homeworld hung in space like a dark jewel. Once, its defenses had been thought unbeatable. Once, its rulers had been the most feared beings in the galaxy. That was before humanity evolved. Colonel Walker stood on the bridge of Terra's Vengeance, leading the largest fleet ever assembled. Ships from a dozen liberated species filled the sky, all following humanity's lead. All forces ready, Lieutenant Michael Reynolds reported. His enhanced senses could feel the fear radiating from the planet below. They know we're coming. Dr. Emily Thompson worked at her station, translating the frantic messages from the surface. They're begging their gods to save them, she said quietly. They'd forgotten that they once thought they were gods themselves. The final battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin. Launch the attack, Walker ordered. Enhanced human soldiers moved through space without ships, their evolved bodies immune to the void. They tore through defensive screens like paper. Michael led the main assault, his team moving faster than thought. Their outer defenses are down, he reported calmly. Beginning Phase 2. On the planet's surface, the Dominion's Council watched in horror as their greatest weapons failed. Barriers that could stop whole fleets shattered under human hands. Weapons that could destroy stars bounced harmlessly off evolved human skin. How? One council member whispered. How did they become this strong? The answer came from Rebecca Martinez, who led the ground assault. Her voice boomed through every speaker on the planet. You forced us to adapt. You made us evolve. Now face what you've created. Dr. David Anderson monitored the battle from his lab. The enhanced humans were still evolving, still growing stronger. Each moment of combat taught them new ways to use their powers. We're not even close to our limits yet, he told Walker. We may never find them. The battle for the Dominion's capital city lasted less than an hour. Michael's teams moved like gods of war, unstoppable and precise. They took the council chamber intact, capturing the leaders who had ordered Earth's invasion. Emily entered the chamber with Walker, ready to negotiate the terms of surrender. The once mighty council members cowered before them. Please, the council leader begged. Show mercy. Walker looked at them coldly. Like the mercy you showed Earth. But Emily stepped forward. We're not like you, she said firmly. We won't rule through fear. We're offering you a choice. Surrender and help us build a better galaxy, or face justice for your crimes. The council surrendered immediately. In the days that followed, humanity began to reshape the galaxy. Walker established a new council, with representatives from all species. Rebecca worked to free the remaining slave worlds. Michael's teams hunted down the last Dominion loyalists. We could rule everything now, one of Michael's soldiers said. No one could stop us. That's exactly why we won't, Michael replied. We remember what it was like to be the prey. We won't become the monsters they were. Dr. Anderson continued his research, but now he focused on helping other species. The gift of evolution that the Dominion had accidentally given humanity could be shared, used to help rather than harm. 1 year after the final battle, Emily stood with Walker in the new council chamber. Representatives from 100 worlds discussed trade, peace, and cooperation. "We did it," she said softly. "We became the apex predator, but we chose to be protectors instead." Walker nodded. "That's what makes us different from them. They never understood that being the strongest doesn't mean you have to be cruel." The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had risen from prey to predator to protector. They were the most powerful species in known space, but they used that power to defend the weak, to help the helpless, to ensure that no species would ever again suffer as they had. The universe would never forget the moment humanity became the apex predator, but more importantly, it would never forget what humanity chose to do with that power.